'Tis the season of pies, and who better to give us some great tips than a professional baker? We want to bring in Miss Aimee Altizer with Flourish Bakery in Midvale. Aimee, welcome to the show. And I know that you learned to bake pies from your grandma. I have baked pies with
Mhm.
my grandma, so I think you know what
Yes.
you're doing.
Yes. Well, thank you. I've had a few years of opportunity. My grandmother and I did bake many pies together as a kid. Now, the number one tip that I learned from my grandmother was you want to keep everything cold. And so you start with
Interesting.
cold butter. And in
Okay.
our recipe, we use cold water as well as cold cream. So you want to keep all those things cold. So what I have here today is my measure of flour and salt in my bowl. And I go ahead and I put that in my KitchenAid mixer because I like to use a KitchenAid mixer these days. My grandmother used to do it by hand with a fork. It was a lot of work.
Oh, yes.
But I use my KitchenAid mixer and I go ahead and I blend that flour and salt to make sure the salt's evenly distributed. And then I go ahead and add my butter. Now, here I have that pound of butter and I cut it two directions twice so that I end up
Okay.
with long sticks that look like this. Then I take it and turn the opposite direction and I cut in my little cubes. And you'll probably notice I'm doing that with a bench scraper. It's one of my favorite
Okay.
tools in the kitchen. It cuts that pound of butter real fast. Now, when my dough is done blending with the butter, because I've put the butter in already in this batch, you'll see that the butter and the flour have a little bit of a mealy look to them.
Uh-huh.
They
Yeah.
should not be fully blended. We have some pea-sized pieces, a couple pieces that are a little bit larger, and then a lot that's a little bit flakier and smaller. That's the perfect time to start adding in that cream, that cold cream and that cold water that I told you we use. And
Yeah.
I add that in while the mixer is running. And I do that on low speed so that I don't end up wearing the pie dough. And just drizzle that in and it'll start to come together. Just as it starts to come together, that's when we stop. And our dough looks, you'll see in our dough, we have some chunks of butter still in the dough. It's not completely smooth, you notice. We
Right.
have a little bit of variegation with some butter still in there. And the reason we don't mix it fully blended is because you can overmix the dough and make it tough. And we
Got
like
it.
to roll our pie dough and keep it nice and flaky. And that's the trick. You keep it
I
cold
like it.
and you don't blend in your butter all the way and it stays flaky.
Aimee, so many great tips that people can use in their homes for baking those pies this holiday season. But let's say they're like me and you don't want to do the baking and I want you to do it for me. How can I come visit you and get my hands on all your good stuff?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for asking. We're at 752 West Center Street in Midvale, right behind the Cricket store. And our
Mhm.
storefront has opened today. And
Yay.
we have some pies in our retail area now, so you can get a little taste ahead of time and order your pies online if you'd like by Friday the 20th. If you want to order online, or you can come into the store at 752 West Center Street. Now, our website is Flourish, Flourish, SLC, like Salt Lake City.org. And you can find our online shopping cart there, open through Friday the 20th.
Perfect. Aimee, thank you so much and happy holidays.
Thank you. Have a wonderful holiday.